All right, 138 here at the KFYR Plus News Desk, and we are going to visit with our friend Becky Smith, one of the zookeepers up there at the Roosevelt Park Zoo. Good afternoon, Becky. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. Well, this week in the spotlight, Becky, we have decided to put the southern ground hornbill that we're featuring. What kind of bird is the southern ground hornbill? Please tell me.
So the southern ground hornbill is actually one of the largest hornbill species, and it's a terrestrial bird as opposed to the other hornbills that are mostly up on the trees and flight. These guys
Hmm.
can fly, but they do spend almost their entire time walking around the ground looking for their food, hunting their prey, and they spend their lives pretty much on the ground. They're also cavity builders, so for their nests. So they will actually find a tree with a little bit of a hole, and then they'll use their cast bills to peck through it and to keep opening that up more, and they'll actually build their nest into that cavity.
Really? So, what is so unique about the appearance of this hornbill?
So let me see if I can get this so you can kind of see right here. This right here is Luke. He is a male on the hornbills. And right here in the front, you can see that bit of skin on his throat. That's actually a wattle. It's a large flap of skin that he will actually expand out and then compress to make sort of a booming sound. These guys with the males, you can see he's almost completely red, whereas the females are mostly red, but with some purple and blue that covers the majority of that wattle as well. So that's one of the unique features of that coloring that they have in those wattles. Another thing too is I can get a good close up here. You can kind
Hmm.
of see Luke has what looks like very big bushy eyelashes. They're actually specialized feathers, so they look like really nice, eyelashes. They work exactly like ours do. Keep the sun out, keep dust out, kind of protect their eyes, but they're unique feathers instead of hair like we have.
That's neat. So, what is the bird's diet?
So these guys are almost completely carnivores. They do eat some fruit, some seeds, but mostly they'll eat lizards, rodents, maybe a small hare if they can get it. But they also are huge fans of bugs. So, for example, with our birds here, we give them mealworms and superworms, and we give them crickets. So they'll get a variety of insects. They love the crickets because they can chase them down. And then we train with the superworms a lot, so they get to enjoy that.
What is the natural habitat of this bird? I believe they're from South Africa or somewhere, aren't they?
Yes, they are. So they actually will stay out in the savannas, grasslands. They do like to go into the woodland areas. That's kind of where they'll find those good trees for nesting. But they're going to be out in those big open areas for hunting and, for, like I said, the wooded areas for the nesting.
Now, you said the bird doesn't fly much. If it needs to fly, it can, but what are the reasons it would need to fly? Is it because maybe a predator is after it or something?
Yep, they are predated on by leopards and crocodiles. So they could fly away if they needed to. They could fly to cover some distance. So they'll fly if they want to or if they need to, but it's definitely not the best way for them to find their small lizards and rodents and snakes that they really want to get.
What kind of role does the southern
Downstream.
groundbill hornbill play in our ecosystem? What does it do for our ecosystem?
So, in the ecosystem that the hornbills are in, they're called a keystone animal. They hold kind of a high importance ranking there. They keep a lot of the smaller creatures like the pests, the bugs, the rodents, things like that that breed quickly and in large numbers. They keep those numbers under control. And they're also good for helping with keeping the ground sort of moved around a little bit to help kind of keep that natural movement going. But mostly they're keeping under control the population numbers.
When they reproduce, or do they? Obviously, they have eggs. I'm sure, right?
Yes, yes, they do.
Okay. So, what are some interesting facts about these birds that you'd like the visitors to know about?
So one thing I find interesting about these guys, like I said, they have that wattle. So whenever they expand that and they compress it down, and it makes this booming sound. These guys have very unique sounds, and it's kind of drumming. And when you get enough of them together, which they usually typically live 2 to 9 birds in a group in a flock, they'll actually make such a loud, reverberating, booming sound. They've been mistaken for lion roars and for thunder, which is actually where they get the nickname the thunder bird. Something else I find interesting is that these guys only lay about 2 to 3 eggs at a time. And unfortunately, they don't have the best birth rate. So one egg will usually be all that really survives, and then they'll take care of that one egg in the flock. Another thing I find interesting about these birds is I wouldn't say they're a matriarchy, but they'll have a male and female bonded pair that will be the leaders of the flock. The sons will stick around to help raise the rest of the fledglings. And then the females are the ones that actually leave the flock to go out and find a different group.
Interesting. And how long can you expect a hornbill to live on average?
So hornbills actually live a decent amount of time. They live about 50 to 60 years in the wild. We can get closer up to 70 years in captivity. Here at the Minot Zoo, the two that we have just turned 15 last week. So ours are definitely teenagers.
Is a hornbill something a person could have as a pet?
No, not really. I mean, I think there are some similar parrots or some parrots that have similar sort of looking bills that are in the pet industry, but nothing with a bill quite as long or as unique as the hornbill category. Southern hornbills, especially, I wouldn't want in the home. They can be territorial. They can be aggressive, although they don't much care for it if you step towards them. So they do have that going for them as far as way to protect yourself. But they're very large, and with most birds, they do poop a lot, and so you'd have to have a lot of cleaning up after them. So I wouldn't necessarily want them as a home pet, but in a nice large enclosure where they can run around and I can give them lots of different enrichment, bugs, and things like that. They're definitely an amazing animal to observe.
They're a beautiful animal. They really are. What is the current conservation status of the southern ground hornbill, and what's the threats of it in the wild?
So one of the predominant threats, leopards, crocodiles, they can attack them. But unfortunately, the biggest threat to the southern ground hornbill is the human population. Logging, deforestation, things like that are destroying their nests. Right now, they are vulnerable. There's only about 2,000 or less in the wild. We do have some
Wow.
conservation projects that we're working on trying to get those numbers back up. So we have the Medulla project in South Africa where they're working on the breeding, helping them with those eggs and helping to bring those back out into the wild. Here at the Minot Zoo, we don't actually breed our birds. We have a male and female sibling pair, but we do take part of our admissions fees that everybody pays when they come in, and part of it actually goes to that Medulla project to help them with the financial ability to kind of help regulate those laws in the area and to keep working towards making that possible to put as many young ones back out in the wild as possible.
Becky Smith, the southern ground hornbill zookeeper there with the Roosevelt Park Zoo, our Zoom with the zoo today. Thank you so much for your time. And again, those are some really beautiful birds. You take care of those birds for us, won't you, Becky?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great weekend now. 1:46 now at the desk. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got to look at your entertainment news next on KFYR Plus.